today we're delighted today to announce that we have a new strand, the Strand 2 of the Co-Funding Award, for those partner meetings in Europe. So we'll go through that. What we're going to do today is, because some of you might be from here for Strand 1 and not for Strand 2, so we'll go through Strand 2 at the beginning, and people can jump off if they want to, if they don't need to stick around for Strand 1. So we might start with sharing the presentation, Evelyn, and we can get stuck into the details. So as you know, the Co-Funding Award is in relation to the cooperation project strand of Creative Europe programme. So Strand 2 in particular, as I said, is for setting up those meetings, those partner meetings with potential partners in Europe, and that's with a view to working towards making an application for cooperation projects in the programme of the Creative Europe programme 2021 to 2027. So we might move on to the next slide, thanks. So as I said, there are two strands. Strand 2 is really like the travel and training, which you might have been aware of for the Creative Europe application for the travel and training, which finished in just before COVID, unfortunately, or during COVID. And we all know why, but it actually hasn't kind of been reinstalled. And we really miss that, you know, that provision for people who want to set up those partner meetings, working towards making an application. And we really don't want that onus to be on organizations to have to fork out, you know, that funding, because it can be a good chunk of funding, and it will, you know, take out of your annual funding. So we want this to be a kind of provision that, you know, this money can be for that mobility to go and meet potential partners in Europe. So Strand 1 is, as we've had before, the Co-Funding Award for Creative Europe cooperation projects, and that will be for those commencing in 2024. So next slide, thanks, Evelyn. So today we'll go through the purpose and priorities of the award, both Strand 2 and Strand 1. I'm saying it kind of backwards, but that's the way we'll go through it. We'll go looking at who the award is for, the costs that can be put into your budget for support, what supporting material. There is mandatory supporting material for both strands, and then the assessment criteria. Thanks, Evelyn. So the priorities kind of cover both awards, in that the award is aligned to the Arts Council 10-year strategy. Many of you will be aware of Making Great Art Work, leading the development of the arts in Ireland, and that is the overall strategy for the Arts Council. And this, in particular to international arts, looks at activities that recognise the value of international practice and relationships for both the applicant organisation and for individual artists. Activities that demonstrate the promotion and development of good practice in the area of audience development, along with deepening and growing public engagement in Ireland, and activities that contribute to ensuring the arts sector is skilled, resourceful, and committed to its own renewal. So both strands relate to those priorities in particular. And thank you, Evelyn. Next slide. So to start off with Strand 2. So Strand 2 is the Co-Funding Award for partner meetings in preparation for Creative Europe cooperation project applications. And the primary purpose of Strand 2 of this award is to enable Irish organisations to apply for support towards meetings with potential European partners in preparation for that application to cooperation projects. The funding will be considered to support costs towards flights, accommodation, and subsistence, which is related directly to those meetings planned to take place in Europe with your potential European partners. So if you're at the moment looking towards the next round of cooperation project application, you could have an idea already of partners. Maybe you've worked with them before, Maybe one or two you've worked with before, but you've got a few new ones that you would like to meet up and just start those discussions and see if there's any, connections around a potential project in the future. This is where you kind of start thinking, first of all, it doesn't matter with this application how many meetings you have. We'll look at what the budget will cover. But it's kind of for testing it out, and we're keeping it open. We don't want it like you nailing it to the cross. And this is definitely, if you don't apply with these partners, it's all going to fall apart. That's not what we're doing here. We're kind of providing or putting a provision out there for people to test out those meetings, those partnerships, and those conversations. So I'll talk in a minute about how many partners per size of cooperation project, but just to say that kind of those ideas should be ruminating already. I mean, you could wait and not apply for this strand 2 right now, but if you have those partners in place or you're already working with them, we'd be delighted. We'd be really happy to see applications coming through for those to test out those ideas and have those conversations. So who can apply? So the arts organisations must be based in Ireland, and they must be applying to undertake those planned meetings with European partners and preparing towards a Creative Europe Cooperation project application. So we'll see when we look at just what's in the application form, particularly to strand 2, what we're asking. So, as I said, it's not nailing all the plans to the cross, but it is looking at definitely undertaking meetings and working towards a cooperation project application. So you do have to be Irish based, and you do also have to be an arts organisation. I know may have us joined here today. There were a couple of county councils that signed up, and we'd be delighted for you to be involved in a project. But in general, we want it to be, or it's part of the process is that it's an arts organisation. So you could be working with an arts organisation to deliver those activities, but the arts organisation will be the applicant in this case. And definitely county councils can be involved. We've had a lot of applications and successful projects with county councils already. So next slide, please, Evelyn. So these are massive lists. So there's 40 potential countries that you could be partnering with, or you can apply to partner with for a Creative Europe project application. So that's the list, and have a go. I'm not going to read through them all, but we can send around if you want to get in touch afterwards for other information. I'm sure you've looked up around and about other information around Creative Europe and the cooperation projects, but these are the countries that you can apply to be working, having those organizations, those partners in those countries. And next slide, please. So for strand 2, the budget, the maximum amount is €2,000. So as I said, that'll cover, it's up to the maximum of 2,000. So whatever your travel, your accommodation, how many mobility kind of flights or activities you're taking, that's the cap. It's up to €2,000. And the costs must be directly related to partner meetings and around that cooperation project application. So we're going to cover travel and subsistence costs and accommodation. So I'll just in a moment go through exactly what we won't cover, but that's to say that's what's covered for strand 2. And thanks. So what you cannot apply for. So non-artistic activities, capital costs, ongoing core costs, activities which will be more appropriate for support under another funding body, or activities that don't fit the purpose of this award. Thanks, Evelyn. So the application form, we're not going to look through it. We can show it to you at the end. We can't share it with you, but it will be up on our website or sorry, it won't be up, it's in OLS. So when you go to apply, it'll be open from November the 7th, and you can go through OLS. The application form is within that process. So the guidelines are there at the moment on our website, but we can show it to you. You can have a look at it. The application form, so for your proposal, we ask you to give a title to your EU partner meeting. So this is just, you know, an idea of a title. Again, it can be something that's just suitable for the travel, the mobility for the partner meetings. Then we ask for a summary of your proposed meetings with the partners, where you're going and what, where and who. And then more kind of in detailed proposal. So in this proposal, we're looking for a kind of, what are your activities and the focus of the European meetings, who are the partner organizations, and what their participation will be in the potential Creative Europe application, the expected date for submitting a Creative Europe cooperation project application. So when do you, I mean, it could be next year, it could be the year after. You know, again, it's not written in stone, but it's something that you're definitely working towards. And that's what so when you provide all this detail, it helps the assessors to, you know, see the full scope of the project, what you want to do and why. And so you just make sure you give enough detail there and kind of describe really what you're looking to do. And next slide. Thanks, Evelyn. So there are mandatory supporting materials for both strands, and make sure when you're looking through the guidelines, they're different for both strands. So just make sure you've got the right pieces for each strand. So the supporting material means material that is separate from and additional to your application form, just to remember that. In order to be considered eligible for assessment for the co-funding award, you must submit the following material. For applications under Strand 2, you must submit a copy of your short up-to-date for CVs for applicants and proposed partners. You must put up your costs, your travel accommodation and subsistence costs, and that will be in a detailed budget, which you'll see. You can use your own, or you can download it there. There's a link there. It's the same budget that's for Strand 1. Evidence of engagement with proposed European partners. So letters of invitation, formal email communication, detailing those planned meetings that you want to undertake. And obviously the application form is your main mandatory form to submit, but these are your supporting material, the mandatory ones. Next slide, thanks. So to go into the co-funding award Strand 1. So co-funding award for Strand 1 is for Creative Europe cooperation projects commencing in 2024. And the next slide. So who is this for? This is open to arts organisations, again, based in Ireland, but that have received an offer of funding in 2023, either as a lead coordinator or partner underneath cooperation projects in the Creative Europe programme. So applications for a co-funding award for cooperation projects or European platforms, sorry, that was from our last round. That's not applicable here, but for cooperation projects must be made in the same calendar year which an offer of funding is received from the Commission. So at this point, if you're applying for Strand 1, you know that you've received an offer of funding from the Commission, and everything is ready to go. You will also know what your financial contribution is from the Commission for the overall project, for the budget, and then you can work out what is applicable for what you will apply for to be covered under the co-funding award. So if your organisation's total budget, let's say, is 50,000, and of this your proportion from the Commission, the EACEA grant, is 30,000, well then the 20,000 left over is for you to raise. So this is the maximum amount that the Arts Council can cover. However, the Arts Council will want to see a mixed funding model, so they don't expect to be the sole source of this additional income. So this depends on so as I said at the beginning, you will know what your budget is from your grant is from the Commission, and that's also relating to whether you were a large cooperation project, which was 80% covered from the Commission, whether you're medium sized, which was 70%, or whether you're a small cooperation project, which is 60%, and that's leaving those other percentage for you to raise. Costs directly related to the implementation of the Irish elements are the costs that are eligible under Strand 1. So you will ask to indicate your income, expenditure and amount at 2 different stages during this application. One will be in the detailed budget that you submit as part of your application, and one will be online when you initiate the application, and that'll just be the totals. So these need to kind of match up as well. Next slide, please, Evelyn, thanks. So again, like the list from Strand 2, the costs that can't be applied for. Costs already funded, this is particular to Strand 1 actually, but costs already funded by the Commission and national funding agencies, including the Arts Council. So that's where we try to avoid double funding. So if the Arts Council is already covering these arts activities in Ireland, we don't want to fund it again under the co-funding award. So you have to, just be very careful about what arts activities you're applying to be funded. And if they were already being funded by the Commission, again, it's the same, or the other national funding agencies. Non-artistic activities, so looking at heritage costs or academic activities, these are the costs that won't be covered, again, under co-funding. Capital costs, ongoing core costs, activities that would be more appropriated to be considered under another funding body, like Culture Ireland or other third-level institutions. Activities not outlined in the Creative Europe detailed budget form. So here we're looking at you can't just kind of throw some more activities onto the project that you didn't have in the budget form. So that wasn't originally part of the project itself when you applied to Creative Europe. So yeah, we're just looking for you to be kind of following through. It's the project that was funded through Creative Europe, and you're going to extend it and deliver those Irish artistic activities. Activities that be more suited to another award funded by the Arts Council, activities undertaking for charity fundraising purposes, or the participation in a competition where the primary profit is profit making. Activities that can already have been assessed by the Arts Council. So yeah, unless the Arts Council has specifically advised you to redirect this application for this award, then if these activities have already been assessed, we don't want to kind of reassess them here, because when the co-fund comes in as an application for us, we divide it out under the art forms and they go to the assessors and advisors. So again, they'll kind of be knowing that they're reassessing the same activity that they've already assessed. So just to bear that in mind. Next slide. Thanks, Evelyn. So again, there is mandatory supporting material, and this must be submitted for it to be eligible. And it is different to Strand 2, so just making sure that you know exactly what the supporting material is for Strand 1. So you need to have a copy of your EACEA decision letter, which includes the assessment from the Commission, the EACEA, of your proposal. We need a copy of the submitted Creative Europe application form, a copy of the Creative Europe detailed budget, in an Excel form. We need the co-funding award budget sheet template. So that can be downloaded in that link there. Or this could be, as we had said for Strand 2, you can kind of devise your own budget template and submit that. But as long as there is a detailed one submitted. Any letters, emails, and other copies of memorandums of understanding outlining details of collaborations, or other details confirming commitments of income towards the proposal that are not listed in the Creative Europe budget form, then you can provide these as well. And all of this detail will help for the assessors to make their decision. And next slide, please. So yeah, eligibility. So if you miss the deadline, that's kind of when we all know at this stage you're not eligible. If you do not submit a completed application form through the Arts Council OLS online services, and an application form is as a supporting document isn't acceptable. If you fail to complete all of the sections in the application form relevant to your proposal, and in this case relevant to your strand, so it's very clearly marked out which questions are for which strand. If you cannot apply as set out in the sections 1.3 to 1.5, then you're ineligible. If you apply for an amount of funding greater than the maximum amount allowed for within the award, that's ineligible again. If you apply for an activity or a purpose that you cannot apply for as set out in section 1.7, if you fail to provide your mandatory supporting material, and if your application is better suited to another funding programme offered by the Arts Council or another funding agency. So there, yeah, the eligibility kind of, sorry, that's fine. The next page, please. So assessment criteria. So as I said, the assessment criteria, the priorities of this award comes under the kind of overall international practice within MAGAW, within the Arts Council strategy. So these are the activities and the way in which we'll be looking at the purpose of this award and how your application suits it. So just have a really good read of it. And this is how, when we go to it, when it's being assessed, your application, we kind of will look through the lens of this. How does your activities recognize the value of international practice? How are they working to demonstrate good practice? How are they looking at areas of development in audience development or deepening public engagement in Ireland? And how are the activities contributing to ensuring that the arts sector is skilled, resourceful, and committed to its own renewal? So this is what will be kind of how we will be looking at your application in the light of those purposes. Next slide, please, Evelyn. So the feasibility of the application. So it will be looked at under track record of the personnel involved, who's managing, who's administrating, and who is delivering the project. The extent to which the applicant demonstrates the provision of equitable conditions and remuneration for participating artists, the extent of involvement or commitment of identified project partners. So that's where those MOUs and those letters really will back up who you are working with on this project, the proposed budget, and is that feasible for what you are proposing to do. Other sources of income, again, we don't want to be the sole provider of this funding. So other sources of income really help to strengthen your application. The availability and access to other resources, and the proposed timetable or schedule for the project. Is that feasible as well? And thanks. So the deadline reminder is, so it opens both strands under Co-Funding Award opens on the Tuesday, the 7th of November. So that's in 2 weeks' time. And the deadline is Thursday, the 7th of December at 5:30 p.m. Irish time. So as with all of our awards, you make your application through the Arts Council online services. There's a link there, and you set up your account if you don't have one. Make sure you do that well in advance. And then there's the link to the Co-Funding Award. As I said, all the documents will be up as it opens on the 7th of November. So yeah, get looking, and we might stop the recording there if we can, Evelyn.